welcome back.
Well, hello, Bradley. How are you?
Oh, I love how you remember the small things that count. I'm very well. How are you?
I am very well. You catch me cleaning my glasses, so excuse me to the viewer, which is probably Henry and Meta only.
Yeah, on one computer. On one computer, so it's not even two viewing. If they wanted to up my YouTube numbers, they could at least watch it on separate laptops, but they watch it on the same one. I need to train them up. No, well, they're coming on, so they'll enjoy the shout out. Richard, look, we've had a little catch up actually before, and we started this a year ago. Actually, you and I were talking about things like trust and what could leaders do during the pandemic, and now we are coming out of lockdown in the UK. Vaccine has gone well, so we're starting to open up again. And I thought it would be cool as we bring these sessions to a close to get you right back in and ask you the same question we did all those months ago, but now with a year's perspective. Wow. What have you observed? Like, what have you seen in the leaders that you've worked with, maybe even in yourself, in how this world has shifted, how we operate, how we behave?
Well, wow, what an amazing thing. Thank you very much. I loved it. We haven't done one for a little while, and I've missed them in a way because they really are. For your one or two listeners out there, this is genuinely unscripted, so we just sort of freestyle a little bit. So what are my reflections? I think one of the thoughts that I've got now is that being in the UK, I've had a jab. My parents have both had their 2 jabs. You're a lot younger than me, so you probably got your jab in a month or so.
Oh, I had mine 2 weeks ago.
So, and it makes me, we're sort of coming to the place where we're really excited and thankful, and we're sort of looking ahead and sort of coming out and the pubs opening and getting more social and that sort of thing, which is really exciting. And I think we also got to be very mindful that, most people in the world are definitely not in that place. If you some friends in Brazil, and it's terrible, and friends in, very, very close in Europe, and it's a very different kettle of fish there. In France, in Germany, they're back in lockdown. They're just going back into it. The third wave. I mean, who would have thought that this time last year? I mean, third wave? No way. Maybe a second wave. So, I'm very mindful that I feel, excited and, things moving forward. But I'm also very mindful that a lot of my friends and a lot of your friends, I'm sure, are in a very different place.
I was talking to someone just this morning in India, and she was saying, it is horrific.
Yeah.
Now. And of course, it's great when everyone in the UK would have been vaccinated. But of course, if the world isn't, they won't be able to go anywhere.
No.
And that gets us into, those kind of vaccine passport discussions, which to me has a flavoring of Brexit about it, where you're going to have the country split down the middle, those that agree with it and those that don't. And it's going to feel like, just another binary argument. What happened to all the compassion, Richard, of 12 months ago when people were doing deliveries for their neighbors because they couldn't get out, and suddenly we're arguing about who's producing vaccines and we're not going to export that out there? And
yeah,
what happened to compassion? Because we keep telling leaders, show compassion, but we don't always see it in the world.
No.
On display from our leaders.
No, definitely not. I mean, one of the things that it's got me thinking about is that I think now organizations and people are just having to be far more thoughtful about how others might be feeling the other side of the monitor.
Yeah.
Because undoubtedly, people who are lucky enough to have work, their productivity is skyrocketed. So they're incredibly busy and they're still working from the end of the bed. And a lot of people are, looking after children and juggling multiple things. And I know from my experience of going through this last year in a very lucky, privileged way, which we talked about in the past. Lovely environment, being able to get outside. Everything's fine. All my family and children are healthy. I found over this last year finding myself surprisingly in a really low place a couple of times. Although on the outside, everything great. Work okay, work going well, family okay, relationships all intact, all happy, and yet feeling really down, really glum, really depressed almost. And for no reason. And I think that has really surprised me about myself, who I've thought I'm a resilient character. And it just makes me realize that everybody's susceptible, irrespective of position, hierarchy, or where you are. Everybody's susceptible to having some moments where you doubt, or you're worried, or you're upset, and it's something that I think we need to be far more empathetic and slow down and really think about the other person and how they are, on the other end, rather than jumping to the wrong conclusion.
I love how you say that as well, almost surprising yourself to notice that you were down. It piques my interest. Did you notice it in the moment, or was it a reflective, oh, wow, the last week I've been like, how did you notice it?
Yeah, it sort of crept up a little bit. It crept up on me. I found myself getting exhausted, and I found myself not being able to be present with people, present at the meal times, present, sort of losing track of what other people were saying, get lost in my own thoughts, waking up, worrying about things that I wouldn't have worried about, a couple of months ago. So it crept up on me. I wasn't aware. And then there were a couple of moments when, whether it was Julie, my wonderful wife, saying, "Are you okay?" or giving me feedback, or getting cross with me for some reason, and then me flaring back at her for another, and just sort of, hold on a minute, whoa, this is escalating out of something ridiculous.
Yeah.
What's going on here? That was a wake up for me. But the physical thing, I don't know if we're both, you're very active, and you keep yourself fit. I enjoy keeping myself fit, but I have felt physically really exhausted at times as well over this last year.
So I've worked hard on the physical fitness to try and
Yeah.
boost the mental fitness.
Yeah.
Like you, your story lands with me, because I know that there were moments over the last year when I would catch myself actually, and sometimes it was somebody asking a question, and so, I know you're busy, but how are you? And having to acknowledge actually that I was sick and tired of my surroundings, and even though I live in a beautiful location like you, access to fields and hills and actual solitude as well, so be out for hours, you won't come into contact with people, all the beauty of nature, and yet it's been the same surroundings for a whole year. And it started to impact me, because a lot of my healthy well-being needs are met by being in the outdoors and being part of nature. And of course I can be part of nature, but it was the same every day, and work was full on. And I hear what you're saying, because suddenly you don't realize it in the moment, you realize it post the moment, when actually it's the fifth day you've fallen asleep before dinner. And it's like, whoa, Brad, I'm waking you up to come and eat. Come on, what's that about?
Yeah. So you've had a little bit of this as well.
And so I totally, I don't think we're alone. I think globally, this is where empathy can really come into play. I think we've all experienced these moments where ultimately our needs aren't being met for such a sustained period of time that our well-being is impacted by them,
Mm.
which is why we can't deny the challenge psychologically facing us all in coming back together.
Mm. Yeah, and I wonder whether we will come back together as we did as we were before. And I don't think we will. I think we will spring all the way back. Of course, we're going to get back, and we're desperate to get back to being with people. But I think it has changed. Groups of people. It'll be interesting to see if we did this in a year's time, and if depending on where we are in a year's time, how we have learned, and how the changes of our behavior have now, then will be coming across. I also think there's some real positive things that are coming out of it, and I think there is there's definitely a sense that I have got of working with leaders is people's more realization of having to be able to collaborate more effectively with groups, collaborate with other people where they wouldn't have done before, because there is a need. Now, whether that's it, as you know, I spend a lot of the time in the healthcare and pharmaceutical sector. Of course, the amazing speed in which vaccines have been, found and then pushed out into the market has only happened because of organizations who were fiercely competitive in the past, putting all that to aside and actually collaborating together, sharing production plants, sharing chemicals to produce constituents that go into these vaccines, sharing logistics hubs. Never before has that been the case. And I think that is just one example of where people have been forced to, and then see the benefit of, really choosing when to collaborate. And I hope that is a sign of more things to come. One bad thing with the COVID, along with lots of others, but a big one, which I don't hear enough of, is this whole masking of the global sustainability, the global crisis we're in, which is, I think, is far more worrying and concerning than however horrific COVID undoubtedly is. I think that is a real watch out, that it's been masking this, and I'm really hoping that the ability to be able to collaborate, and as a race, as a human race, we can come together to overcome what undoubtedly is going to be our biggest challenge.
I think it's interesting when I reflect that back into just the microcosm of workplaces. I've seen some incredible leadership behaviors over the last year. Really, people stepping forward. Some not even in leadership positions, by the way. They just stepped forward.
Yeah.
They made themselves available for the person to their left and for the person to their right, and quite frankly, that's leadership at any level. What I found really interesting is when you said, you don't think we will go back. From a working point of view, I can see that there isn't the need to come together, except maybe for collaboration. And perhaps that's how we can create this kind of global push for more collaboration, in the fact that in the clients I'm talking to, the only reason why they think about bringing people together is to create a forum of face-to-face collaboration, for the brainstorming, for the idea generation that takes place, that is stilted and stunted when it's done virtually.
Yeah. And we both know, and I have been super surprised by the success of the virtual world. We were talking a little bit earlier on about virtual reality. going to the next extreme. There is definitely a place for these sorts of things. Of course, there is. No way is it going to get away from the human contact. We're humans. We need that touch. We need to feel the breath, and we need to feel the pat on the back, and the hug, and the squeeze of the arm, and we need that. And I think positive unintended consequence of COVID is it's fast tracked other people being more open to the use of other types of ways in which we can interact, because collaboration has gone up because we have been able to collaborate and have conversations around the world. Leadership meetings, which used to be we're going to fly the top 25 or the top 50 around the world, all of a sudden you got 400 people in a virtual space. I mean, what's not to love about that? You miss part of it, but the value also is generated elsewhere. So yeah, swings and roundabouts.
Well, I know that I booked my first leadership program on site. It will be at Ashridge, November, second week of November.
Wow.
Everybody coming is of an age where they would have all been well clear of their second jabs.
Wow.
And it's for 3 days. And we're all so excited at the thought of spending 3 days together, because like you, I believe it will be just those moments where people come together, and actually for the most part we will collaborate in this way. But to feel that physical connection, I don't know, so many clients that I'm talking to are still working from home.
Totally. And I think it'll make those, because there'll be fewer and far between, it will make them even more impactful and more special when they happen. But who hasn't had a moment of great joy when they can finish the office, finish the call, and walk downstairs 20 seconds and you're in the bosom of your family?
Well,
I mean there's definitely there's definitely some benefits for doing that and walking outside, and there's as well as all the benefits of not having to jump into cars or jump on flights and put carbon in the world. It's just there's definitely benefits all around as well.
I was pleased to see that Venice finally voted to not allow sort of steamline cruise ships into their lagoon anymore, because obviously over the last year that lagoon's been well looked after. And you used to have sort of half a dozen of these luxury cruise liners parked up outside St. Mark's Square.
Wow.
So yeah, there's something about, maybe this goes full circle, which is great actually, because you started off by talking about almost your gratitude for things this year. It seems almost a theme that I've picked up in listening to you today, that you've shone a very positive lens on what's been a tough year. When you look forward as well as reflect back, what's been your biggest learning? We live in the world of learning, coaching, development. What have you learnt that's been a lesson you think, wow, okay, that was a cool thing to learn?
Wonder if it's been, I don't know if it's been new things, but I think the key reminders, which are then turned into valuable things, probably 3. So the first one is to have a real clear focus on your purpose, and to really onto your why am I doing what I'm doing, and for what's the higher purpose? If you get clear about that, you're more energized, you're more it helps you make decisions about what you should do and what you shouldn't do right now to take you towards your bigger goal. So that's number one, the focus around purpose, because there's so many other distractions that can get in the way. Number two is to notice yourself and how you are feeling, and where your energy is at, where your attention is at. Going back to my earlier comment, as an example, there were moments where I didn't notice I was going into a place of glumness, feeling bad and I might have been able to catch that earlier if I'd noticed myself earlier. And for us to be, good people in the world, to be able to have an influence, whether you're a manager, a leader, or just a human like me, just a person trying to do this stuff during the day, noticing yourself would be a really, really important thing. And so that's the second thing. The third thing would be notice what other people are not saying. By listening more, speaking less, and really trying to check in with other people who are sitting, as they will always be now. There'll be more distance, which we've spoken about. It'll be more on this sort of format. Really not jumping to the wrong conclusions, slowing down, listening more, asking questions, checking in how other people are, so that you can build a stronger connection and collaborate more effectively going forward. So those would be the three big underlying things where I've tripped over a couple of times this year. And if I was going to go back and start all of this again, click into lockdown 1, knowing what I know now, it'll be those three things. Focus on your purpose. Remember why you're doing what you're doing. Help you make decisions today. Number 2, notice yourself. Notice your energy. Where are you, so that you can be the best person you can be? And number 3, think and be compassionate and considerate and empathize and really understand and check out where that other person is. How are they feeling? So that you can build stronger relationships and collaborate even more effectively. So those would be my 3 lessons to myself.
I love them. I think they're great. You summarize it beautifully at the end. And we find ourselves coming right round back to the start. Richard, Colley, thank you so much. I wish Sladen ongoing beautiful successes.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to a moment in this year when you and I get to actually meet and go for a run together.
That'd be fantastic.
Although I will not be communicating with you on the run. I run very quietly.
Good. So do I, uphill.
I can't have a conversation, but I do look forward to doing that and then drinking some whiskey with you afterwards. Thank you so much for your energy and for being a big part of these podcasts over this year and coming back at the back end to say thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a real privilege. And for all those, for the listener who's tuned in, if you've enjoyed this one, thanks to Brad, who's pulled these together. But please don't forget to listen to the penultimate one. Hopefully, is going to be Bradley's parents, Henry and Meta, who are going to be joining us. So I'm going to be waiting out for that one.
I'll send the link, Richard.
Good stuff.
I wish you well. Be safe. Take care. See you soon.
Bye bye.